Hello class, today my partner and I will be discussing the optimal conditions and defenses for the rule of scarcity. But first, a recap. What is the rule of scarcity? According to the rule of scarcity, if an item is becoming rare or is rare, it becomes more valuable. This happens because as humans, we are motivated by the thought of losing something than by the thought of gaining something. In other words, opportunities seem more valuable when they are less available. The rule of scarcity uses two tactics: limited numbers, i.e., when a product is in short supply, and time limits, i.e., when there's a deadline to get an item. These tactics make us want the item more. The rule of scarcity works best because of the reactance theory. The reactance theory, or psychological reactance, is whenever free choice is limited or threatened, the need to retain our freedom makes us want them significantly more than before. Examples of this theory are teenage love. Teenagers love their significant others more when their parents oppose the relationship. Censorship is also a good example of this. Whenever materials are censored, we find this piece of information more persuasive. As the book puts it, we will find a piece of information more persuasive if we think that we can get it elsewhere. Now, there are two optimal conditions for the rule of scarcity. 1, new scarcity, and 2, competition for scarce resources. New scarcity is when we value items more when those items have recently become less available compared to those items that have been scarce for a while. An example of new scarcity was shown in a study by Warsher, Lee, and Adewell. In this study, participants were offered cookies and asked to rate them. Some participants were given a jar of 10 cookies, while others were given a jar of 2 cookies. When participants that saw other participants get the jar of 10 cookies and saw that they got a jar of 2 cookies, they rated these cookies higher because they assumed that they were more desirable since it was less of them. The drop from abundance to scarcity produced a decisively more positive reaction to the cookies than did constant scarcity. The second optimal condition is competition for scarce resources. This is foolish theory. Basically, not only do we want the same item more when it's scarce, we want it more when we are in competition for it. For example, in the cookie study, when participants were told that the cookies were given away, these cookies were rated higher. So the researchers told participants that some cookies were given away to meet a demand, and other cookies were given away by mistake. So when the participants saw the cookies were given away by demand, they rated these higher. Because we want items more when there's competition for them, advertisers use words like popular demand or hurry to buy this item to increase sales. Now that you know how the rule of scarcity works and the optimal conditions for it, it is time for you to know how to defend yourself.
Optimal conditions for the weapons of influence vary. Just how the scarcity principle is more effective at some times than at others. This provides an opportunity for an important practical defense. However, first, we need to find out when scarcity works best on us. Knowing the causes of scarcity is not enough. It is important to ask what we want from the item, whether it's social, economic, or psychological benefits. The book also states how the causes of scarcity may not be enough to protect us, since knowing is a cognitive act, and cognitive processes are suppressed by our emotional reaction. Next, the rule of scarcity in a short video clip. Please enjoy.
You and I both know that the title of this video is a lie. I'm never going to delete it. But nonetheless, you clicked on it. On the odd chance I do delete it, you get to be part of the lucky few that gets to see this video before it disappears into the void. And that's what we're going to talk about today. That feeling of scarcity, and specifically how people market to that scarcity to make you look at things, want things, and buy things. Have you ever noticed how much advertisers talk about limits and urgency?
Relive the thrill of beating the clock.
Any size soft drinks for $1 won't stick around long.
Buy one, get one free this Friday and Saturday only.
Trucktober. Hurry in now. Trucktober savings end soon.
Now, why do advertisers do this? Some of you may feel that this is merely incidental. All good things come to an end after all. But that isn't quite true. Companies deliberately want to send you the message that this incredible deal won't be here for long. Because the reason we want things, the reason we buy things, often has very little to do with the product and everything to do with how the ad makes us feel. And selling scarcity is all about making you and I feel like we've been given opportunity. Opportunity is not the same as being given a choice. Opportunity is a choice, but it has a special component. It's a time-bound choice. It has to be seized. It won't be there for long. It forces action. You can have this product at this specially discounted rate, but the deal ends this weekend. It forces you to say yes or no to a deal, because inaction is a choice. And it may surprise you, but this is different from our normal behavior. Think about when you're in a store normally. Usually when you pass up on a product, you're not actually saying no to it. You're just saying maybe later. We do this all the time. We're procrastinators by nature, and if allowed, we'll shop around for a while. Because the implication with most goods and services is that they're going to still be there when you come back. But with limited time or limited quantity sales, the goal is to remove the option of saying maybe later to an object. It forces action. Say yes and buy it, or say no and kiss this deal goodbye forever. And this is a fundamental change and can push you from uncertainty to buying a product out of fear that it will be gone if you come back later. And just how effective is this form of marketing? Well, let's look at Amazon, the largest distributor and store in the world. What does the most successful store do when it puts on huge sales? It puts scarcity marketing to work. And from two different angles. Look at this. This is not only a limited time sale, and it's not only a limited quantity sale, it's both. And when it's done, it's done. This one little web widget that tracks how much of the product has moved and tracks how much time has passed moves product like crazy. Take for instance this seller who during a 4-hour lightning sale sold over 6,000 units when they normally would have sold 400 to 500 in a given day. That's a 1,300% increase in sales for taking 20% off the price and putting it on the lightning page. Or to put that in business speak, so what does consumer psychology have to say about this? Well, there's reactant theory and there's commodity theory. Reactant theory, developed by Jack Brim, says that when an individual's freedom to engage in a specific behavior is threatened, the threatened behavior becomes more attractive. This is why, for instance, when politicians mention gun control, ammunition flies off the shelves, because gun owners are worried about their future ability to buy it. It's also why this video title is so provocative, because I'm threatening to take it away from you. The other theory we're going to explore is commodity theory. This idea, developed by Brock and Fromkin, suggests that goods which appear to be scarce are considered to be more valuable. This is the idea behind diamonds, which are actually not rare at all, but due to a very tightly controlled supply, have artificially sustained a high price point. So when marketing companies tell you that something is ending soon, they're trying to artificially restrict the supply to raise the value in your mind. Now, I think a mixture of both of these theories come into play in shaping how we respond to perceived scarcity, but either way, scarcity plays on our ancient impulses to take advantage of limited resources. And this idea hits particularly close to home for me because, as some of you know, I work a sales job, selling houses as my main 9-to-5 job. And when we run promotionals, we do it to generate this exact kind of feeling I've been talking about. Because when people want to take their time and mull over a decision, it can lead them to buying nothing at all. So to get a positional advantage, we run promos periodically to get the leverage to say, enough thinking, it's time to make a decision. I mean, you do want to take advantage of this big sale, don't you? In reality, is there any reason the houses should be less expensive that month? No, but we want people to think there is because it creates urgency. Our reaction to scarcity is a powerful force in advertising and marketing. It plays on one of our most fundamental instincts, to not miss out on opportunity. And this bias is exploited constantly by businesses who use advertising and marketing tactics to create artificial scarcity. So, just as a rule of thumb, if you live in a developed country where abundance is the norm rather than the exception, you can begin to safely make the assumption that if someone is telling you supplies are low, they're probably trying to sell you something.
As demonstrated in the video, the act of buying things has a lot to do with how an ad makes us feel. The video also talks about both the reactant and commodity theories, which work best because of psychological reaction. Touching base on new scarcity and how competition makes the rule even more efficient, since the scarcity product become even more desirable to obtain. The video also talks about opportunity as a time-bound choice, forcing an action since it has to be seized before it disappears. Amazon's great success is partially obtained through this principle. Not only does the company enhances a product's value by offering a limited time sale, but also a limited quantity sale. The video also explains in detail the reactant and commodity theories. The reactant theory refers to an individual's freedom to engage in a specific behavior, making the threatened behavior more attractive. An example can be selling out ammunition during gun control discussions due to the policy's uncertainty. The commodity theory, on the other hand, suggests that goods, which appear to be scarce, are considered more valuable. Less is best and loss is worst. In other words, if an item is rare or unique, the greater value it has on society. Diamonds, for example, remain at a costly demand since they happen to be very scarce and hard to find. Research shows how limited information is more persuasive, referring to the act of limiting access and how it causes individuals to want to get it even more. Thus, as previously mentioned, it is important to understand these weapons of influence to be able to defend against them. The book highlights the importance of competition in the pursuit of limited resources. Not only do we show greater desire for an item when it's scarce, we want it even more when we're competing for it. The scarcity principle is most likely to hold true under the reactant and commodity theories, which talk about the opportunity being threatened and how goods that appear to be scarce seem more valuable. The rule of scarcity states how we find greater value if an item is rare or hard to obtain. Fernanda also mentioned how we are motivated by the thought of losing something than by the thought of gaining something. The rule also limits its numbers and time limit strategies. As demonstrated in the video, Amazon is an appropriate example of these principles, thanks to the high selling tactics. As previously mentioned, the rule works best with this theory because of psychological reactance. We also talk about new scarcity and how competition for scarce resources are optical conditions for the rule. To conclude, knowing the causes of scarcity is not enough to defend against the rule. It is important to understand our desires, whether social, economic, or psychological. It is essential to ask what we want from an item. Thank you.